We come to this place for magic.
I don't have time to have a bad time. It ain't on my schedule.
To laugh.
And it is a reminder, I've been here when it was glory hole days, and I've been here when it wasn't. And so having said that, I want me some glory hole.
To cry.
I thought we had a team put together last year that was healthy enough when we got to the playoffs. But I knew we had a couple of our best shots out there financially.
Because we need that, all of us. That indescribable feeling we get when the lights begin to dim. And we go somewhere we've never been before.
We're almost 2.5 college seasons away from being in the playoffs.
Not just entertained, but somehow reborn.
Well, if I knew for sure that the hump would stay still and not move around on me, and that one would get me over that hump. But the problem is that hump's moving on you too.
Together. Sound that I can feel.
I fucked it up.
Somehow, heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
I think we have successfully put together a staff that gives us absolutely the best chance with our makeup and our team to get to the ultimate success.
Our heroes feel like the best part of us.
I appreciate your tenderness.
Because here, they are.
No, I'm not so sure that's a joke.
Welcome back to the One Star Cowboys podcast. I'm Kevin Turner. We have John Machota and Saad Youssef and Kent Garrison here, as always. Hope you've all had a great summer, and it is officially training camp time. Today, the State of the Team address, a tradition like none other. John, I guess we could start with you before we start ripping some audio and reacting. Do you have one big headline that might come from today's events out at training camp?
No, I mean, the biggest thing is obviously going to be any talk about Micah Parsons and his contract, because it's not done, you know. A lot of us thought it would be done by now. And because it's not, that's going to be your number one, no question. And I would say the things that were talked about the most today were Micah's contract and Jerry's, couple minute hit in Landman. I mean, that just, I didn't think that it would go in that direction, but that's just how it was today. I mean, it's got to be at least the 11th or 12th of those news conferences, the kickoff training camp I've been at. And this was the least that anybody's talked but Jerry. Jerry always dominates, but Jerry was everything today. Like, Ryan Schottenheimer talked a little bit, but not very much, especially for a first-time head coach. This is the least that Steven's ever talked during one of these. So Jerry liked the Landman questions in that series, that his little cameo he had on there. And so he was feeding into that. I mean, he was asked a lot of stuff, but he gave a lot of similar answers that he's always given, whether it be embarrassed that it's been 29 years since they've been in the NFC Championship game, if he's ever thought about, stepping down as GM. But the thing about Jerry is it's like, I don't know, just like he has a lot of fun for somebody that hasn't won very big in almost 30 years, It's like he's happy to be out here. He's happy to have the same back and forth with reporters that he's had in the past. And it's like, if they win, that's great, but I'm going to have a good time either way. That's my biggest takeaway. And I'll say this, they talked for 55 minutes at the actual news conference, but when it was over, and a group of us talked to Jerry for another 5-10 minutes. I mean, my takeaway from that was that Jerry's really not that into, oh my God, I got to get this thing done. Like, he's happy Micah's out here. And it gave me some vibes to last year with CD, where it was like, he didn't say this about Micah, but it was almost he's here and that'll be good. And also, if he's not practicing, he can't get hurt. So that's a good thing, and he'll be ready for the season. And that's obviously not a great way to look at it. And he didn't say those words, but I got similar vibes to last year when he felt that way about CeeDee Lamb. And so, that's why after I got done with that, I tweeted out that, like, I do not get the sense at all this thing's going to be done in, like, the next few days or something. Like, this certainly seems like it could be something that drags out a little bit. And I know that's not what Cowboys fans want to hear, but that just seems like the direction it's at right now. I mean, for Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones not even to have talked to David Mulligetta, I mean, how close is it then? I know a phone call can happen quickly, But that's not great for the optics of anybody I thought was about to get done pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, echoing a lot of what John said. I mean, one thing that stood out to me as I was taking notes, just kind of listening to the press conference from afar. I'm not in Oxnard, but listening from afar was Schottenheimer didn't speak until 9 minutes into the press conference. That's to say what John was saying about just how much Jerry kind of took over. And then aside from the Micah talk, the one that really stood out to me was just kind of I feel like that was some of the most blatant shots that I've kind of seen Jerry take at a player, especially when it comes to Trayvon Diggs and the way that he was talking about him and Terrence Steele and that. But even Micah, I mean, even to the point where he was like, well, Micah missed 4 games. I feel like that's he said 6 games, but Micah missed 4 games. But I felt like that was some veiled shots. But the Diggs stuff really caught my attention in terms of the way he responded to Joe Hoyt's question first, and then when Calvin followed up later on at the end of the press conference, and they're like, well, it's just, and Stephen Jones and Jerry both. I mean, Stephen was also right there saying like, hey, like he knew what the consequences were when he chose to go out to Florida. It just didn't seem like there was a whole lot of like, yeah, like, you know, we didn't want to, but, you know, we have to do it. Or it was no like sympathy. It was just more like, very direct. And so I think aside from the Micah talk, which is obviously going to be top story of camp right now, I thought for me the Diggs stuff was the second thing that stood out the most.
Yeah, I would put that number 2. But to me, it was just a second chapter of what we heard after the draft was over, because that was the first time when I was like, whoa, nobody asked about did Diggs rehab properly the first time. Jerry was like, let me give you guys a little something here. And to that extent, when the press conference was over today, I mentioned to a couple other reporters around me that in my time covering the team, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that Jerry praises every player, but I don't know if I can think of a player he's taking shots at more than he has Trayvon Diggs going back to after the press conference was over, after the draft. And it's just very clear that they're not pleased with the way he's carried himself, you know, not working out with the team in OTAs, rehabbing in Florida, and to not even like try and gloss over him losing money in his contract. It was just very clear that, oh, no, we're not giving him that money. He's not getting that. And the part that really stands out about that too is, to me, corners is my biggest concern when I look at this team. You know, people will talk about running back, and that certainly can be in the argument. I'm not saying it's clearly corner, but for me, it's corner because just the way things are heading with Diggs, who knows when he'll be back. And then with, you know, Savon Ravel, there's just a lot of question marks at corner. So for Jerry to be saying that stuff about Diggs, and really, I think it fit in nicely with today too, because it was such an example for Jerry to say like, well, I paid Diggs, you know, maybe I paid Diggs too early, you know, when it comes to the Micah Parsons thing. And so, certainly that was interesting as well. No question.
Yeah. Let's get into this now. Like, we'll play some of these go on a little long. We'll try to keep them, a little tight, but let's start with, some of the Micah stuff. And the first, thing Jerry asked, will Micah practice, you know, before the contract's done?
Well, everybody here is under contract. Everybody. Yes. And so that's what that is. From the standpoint of, let's say, what happens relative to, I'm looking at the entire NFL when I say this, and that's players that are under contract and teams looking to make it better for the team and for the player. In terms of that is incumbent if you're in that price range. When you're up there in that top 10%, so to speak, of the league, and that top quartile of your team, leadership is really big. And leadership exhibits himself when you're negotiating as well. And so I'm appreciative of Micah being here. I am. And it's incumbent upon us all. We've got a player that we've docked him for not being here during off-season workout, as you well know. And we will fine him for that, because those parts of a contract to go directly toward the leadership that he's is as a player relative to the rest of the team, and certainly, obviously, to our fans as well. So I'm big into, and not alone either, are big into showing anything you can do for leadership if you're going to be one of these guys that are in the top drawer of all the money.
Okay, so first of all, anytime the Micah stuff started out, I just started going, did Jerry know the things Micah said on the, I swear I'm being serious here, on the podcast with the Undertaker? That's a wrestler for those of you who aren't wrestling fans.
How did I miss this?
Like,
Of course he would know all that. You don't think that all those quotes are being shared with him? I mean, I'd make the argument that was the most noteworthy Cowboys thing of the last month, unless you want to throw in the Cavante Turpin arrest. But let me just add this in here since you took it to the Undertaker thing. You know, that's why as
Actual sentence.
no. I mean, I didn't do a good job with the joke because I already buried it. But so when we're sitting in that tent after the press conference is over, after we talked to Jerry had a good one in the walk-off too. That was pretty funny. You know how he would say the thing about how he didn't know David Mulligetta's name? So he said to us, he was like, yeah, like when I was up there, I couldn't think of that guy's name that I was talking to in Landman, which was John Hamm, you know? Like, I didn't remember his name. He's a movie star. I'm telling you guys, like, I'm just not good with these names or whatever. So it was funny that he was sharp enough on that. So, but no, so we go back to that tent and, you know, some people are transcribing, some people are doing, talking on the phone with editors and stuff like that. And when that JJ Watt tweet comes out and Micah retweets it, like, you can just tell in that room that room is a tent with like all the other websites and newspapers and local TV news in there. You could tell like that was buzzing. And to me, I didn't even care because he literally talked for 45 minutes to The Undertaker. This is Micah Parsons. Like, him retweeting something, you think that's a big deal? He's probably going to say, like, I mean, he can just tweet himself anything. I mean, he might be the most visible NFL player in terms of like speaking his mind. You know, it's like not that surprising, but it is interesting to hear people on the periphery of it being like, oh, look, he retweeted that. Granted.
Wait, John, real quick, that to that point, that like, because I was talking to someone about this, that was the big difference with CD retweeting you last year versus
100%.
Micah doing that this year. Because I had someone tell me, well, it's just like last year. I was like, no. CD hadn't tweeted in like months. You didn't hear from CD for like months at a time. You hear from Micah all the time. Sorry for interrupting, but I just wanted to put that context there.
100%, it's not the same. And the other thing I was going to say about it is, if that's TJ Watt a couple of weeks ago, if that's Aiden Hutchinson, if that's Trey Hendrickson doing that retweet, totally get it. Micah talks as much as anybody. Like that, like he literally did a good solid 15 minutes with The Undertaker on this whole situation. Like breaking down why he was going to show up, how it mattered about. I just got in this room too. These people that are in the next room over probably hate me already. That I'm going to be doing these podcasts for the next whatever. Well, maybe they won't be here for the whole camp, but man, I'm just getting worked up about this because covering this team, like there's very little that I don't see. And I get it. Like when you have in management people that are in charge of like watching over the entire league, that this stuff might seem like a bigger deal than it is. But it's like Micah Parsons is like not somebody that you got to really like, you know, like he's Tyron Smith or something. It's just like, I guarantee you, he was just like, oh, I thought JJ Watt kind of made an interesting point. I didn't think it was he didn't even write anything. It wasn't even like, that's what I'm talking about or anything like that. He just retweeted what JJ Watt said. So while it's noteworthy, it was not one of those, oh my God, shut it down. Like what he said to The Undertaker and to those 2 or 3 different answers about why he'd be out here to show leadership and how, you know, he looked at management as one of those things of, you know, this is just the way owners are. They always let this stuff drag out, which isn't true, but it is for the Cowboys. It isn't for the rest of the league. That stuff was far more telling, and it was just last week. And so for him just to retweet something like that, I didn't think that was that big of a deal. I get it. I understand why people think it's noteworthy, but it was nowhere near that the CeeDee Lamb stuff last year. I mean, not even close.
Yeah, and also Micah also, after Jerry made the comment about not knowing Mulligetta's name, literally typed out a whole tweet. So to John's point, like he's responded to these things in much much more aggressive fashion than just a retweet. It was noteworthy, but it wasn't something that I was just like, oh, I can't believe he did that. Whereas when last year, I remember when Jerry talked and CD retweeted John's tweet, I remember that raised some eyebrows because he hadn't tweeted or said anything about the contract situation in a long time. Also,
just the optics of it. This is the third time in a row that we've been out here, and there's been a player that is unlikely to participate when camp starts, a key player. The difference with this one is Micah's here.
Yeah.
CD wasn't here last year. Zach Martin wasn't here the year before. The fact that he's even doing this is interesting to me. That's why I keep going back to this, that the Cowboys cannot play real hardball on these big deals until they don't complete one. They really need to drag one out to where it's like they let a guy go to the tag, and then they let him go. And as long as Jerry's owning the team, that'll never happen with a star player.
Sure.
But because that hasn't happened, that's why you can never sit there and be like, I mean, we all get it that Micah's going to get paid whatever what he wants, right? Like that's just what happens here. We do understand that. There's no example of it not happening. Like, I mean, what are you going to compare it to? You think DeMarco Murray's like this? You think Byron Jones is like this? I got news for you. They never thought of those guys the way that they think of Micah Parsons. Never thought of those guys the way they think of Tony Romo, Dak Prescott, Des Bryant, CeeDee Lamb. There's levels to this. And all the people that are on that level, all have gotten their deal. They've just had to wait for it.
Has The Undertaker had a bigger moment at AT&T Stadium than Micah Parsons so far? WrestleMania 31, beating Shane McMahon after he jumped off the steel cage.
Oh, I remember that like it was yesterday.
I'm trying to think of Micah's moments, and none of them really are up there like that. 100,000 people.
I gotta say, I found the Undertaker's podcast to be fascinating.
Yeah, he asked good questions.
Wrestling guy. I was like, he's actually pretty good at this.
Yeah, he asked good questions. I mean, he's a Cowboys fan. He knows about the team.
Sure.
So it was good. I didn't think I listened to the whole thing, and the whole thing was good.
Hey, Jerry, are you frustrated? No deal done with Micah. This one's kind of shorter.
Not at all. We do, and I don't mean this, I have things undone, dangling participles. I bet I have 20 of them every day in some pretty serious areas. You can't have it all done at the same time. It doesn't work that way. I was looking at this documentary, and it spent some time going back in the Emmitt Smith negotiation. There's nothing new about what we're talking about here today relative to contract. If you say, well, if you don't get him in, are you going to lose the first two games and then go on to win the Super Bowl? Well, we'll take that. That's what happened with Emmitt, of course.
When he talks like that, though, it's just like, there's just a lot of things with Jerry where I don't think he understands like how knowledgeable like an average fan is nowadays.
No,
like,
he's out of touch for sure.
Yeah. Like if you guys just had a Micah Parsons or a Dak Prescott or a CeeDee Lamb contract thing once every 3 or 4 years, by all means, we'd be like, oh yeah, no, that just goes on in the league. But every single year to have one of those like that, because like being from Detroit, I'm fascinated just from the perspective of what if they get all those deals done in Detroit? They're already a good chunk in. What if they get them all done without like a serious holdout? That'll be fascinating to me because they have so many like young players to pay and they've already paid several of them. And there hasn't been any holdouts up to this point. You know what I'm saying? And so it'll just be funny to like kind of compare and contrast with another team that has had several, because you have to compare it to a team that has several big contracts. It can't be just, oh, look at this team. They paid the one guy. Like, that's different, you know? Like, I mean, to a certain extent, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody here, but like, in a way, kind of with Buffalo, it's like, well, yeah, of course you're going to pay Josh Allen. Where else is your money going to? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
With the Cowboys, they have had a lot of those top-notch guys that you knew he was going to pay, and it's kind of dragged out or whatever. But like, just to act like every team goes through this, that's not true.
Yeah, Philly
also,
is
by the way,
example.
Also, by the way, real quick, bringing up Dak on the injury thing, and how many times he said that, it's not true either. They were 3-5 when Dak got hurt. It wasn't like they were 5-3 or you know, or they only had a loss, and you're just like, man, everything was rolling. Like, it looked bad from pretty much the get-go. Like, to say that is like, yeah, you know, I paid Dak, and you know, if he doesn't get hurt, and Micah doesn't miss 6 games, Micah missed 4. Then we would have been just right on track. No, you wouldn't have.
Yeah, real quick. Also, I like, because it was in that clip, I like how Jerry made it a point to slip in the Netflix documentary.
Oh,
like
simple.
once every like 10, 15 minutes, he just worked that right into his answers. It was great marketing.
Oh, another one from the walk-off. Sounds like there's a possibility they're going to do a movie premiere for that out here while we're out here. So
early
I'm
review.
looking forward to that.
Let's go. Let me play clip 4 here, Kit, too, because this is basically Jerry kind of gets pushed on. Well, what about it costing more? And that TJ Watt just signed his deal. And if you would have done this deal months ago, then perhaps, no, clearly you save money. And he pushes back on that. But I think this also goes to how out of touch Jerry sounds on some of these topics sometimes.
Used to price let's say Buick for, I can remember when they were $5,000, believe it or not. And today I don't know what they sell for, but that's a lot more than $5,000. I've seen them go dead at $5,000, and I've seen them go dead at $50,000. It's just the times you're in, and it's the money you're in. I'm not trying to be cute, but it's all relevant to me. And again, I don't have any issue. I'm not concerned at all about what our team can be this year and evolve and develop into, and what we make of our training camp. I'm not at all concerned about a contract that involves and will affect that in any way. I can't emphasize that enough.
I think the lack of deep playoff runs is number one reason for what I would say is some empathy that's setting in. Although we've probably been talking about empathy for 10 years too. But I think it's crap like that. And I think there's no excitement to see what the hell he's going to say anymore. Like, I just think it's like, dude, we're all seeing through this. And I just don't, I think maybe he'd feel, I don't know. I don't know.
That's why that's why KT, he tries to play the hits on that last cut by saying the dangling participles.
Yeah.
Trying to go back and play the hits. Like, no one really kind of thinks that's funny anymore.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's not cute
it
anymore.
doesn't get the laughs because, I don't know, like, either you're tired of it because you heard it so many times, or you don't even bother laughing because you're so frustrated with the same issues year after year after year.
And it's I don't get worked up about this anymore. Like nothing really makes me mad in life too much. At least I try to stay pretty even about things. But like, that's why like the things that get me real fired up about the Cowboys will be if Brian Schottenheimer's offense is not creative at all. Like, that'll get me upset. Like, things like
it's
that
far more likely
than this stuff. This stuff doesn't even move the needle for me anymore.
You know what I could see happening? I could see it being more creative, but at the end of the year, when you look at the wins and losses and the overall like offensive numbers, that they're not any better than they were under McCarthy. I could see that, where there's some more motions and some things like that, but it doesn't lead to like that many more wins. It's kind of, it just looks like a continuation. Like, I'd love to be wrong on that, but sure. I think it's more likely that happens than it's just what is this offense? Where did this come from? Like, I don't think that'll happen. I mean, obviously the running back situation factors in that big time. If you can't run the ball somewhat consistently and know who your lead back is, I find it very hard to believe that you're just going to be putting up these like monster numbers. You can probably put up decent numbers, but I just think it's going to be a lot of close games. And, you probably get to 8-9 wins, somewhere in that neighborhood. And that's with those key guys staying healthy. So yeah, no, to think that all of a sudden it's going to be like the best offense in the league and it's going to be all cutting edge, like, man, that'd be wild. I would love to write about it, but I have my doubts.
Yeah, I have my doubts too, but here we are. Okay. So this one was one that was interesting to me. This will be number 6, Kent, because Shotty gets asked his first question of the day, and then Jerry comes in right after Shotty's done talking, which, it's kind of like, hey, coach's first press conference, let's let him have it, or first, state of the team address. And then Jerry kind of comes in and tramples on top of it at the end.
You should work every day. I mean, however this thing plays out, it's going to play out. The fact that Mike is here, he's talked all offseason about wanting to take more of a leadership role. He's talked about wanting to be great. We know he's a great player, and there's a lot of ways to get this thing done. But like we've said, we're committed to having him take that next step, not just as a player, but as a leader.
just because we sign him doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year. Seriously. We've signed, I remember signing a player for the highest paid at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year, Dak Prescott. So there's a lot of things you can think about.
But even that, it just like, I mean, that's taking it like it wasn't 2/3, it was half the season. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's like Sod and I've talked about this before, like the whole, like, we're the best team over the last whatever. And then you do the math on it and you're like, oh, you're not the best. I mean, you're like 6th or 7th, but like, that's like good enough to like, that's a talking point. Who's going to really look that up? Just like little things like that, where you're just like, yeah, it's really not as close as you think. It's like, yeah, they're not like the worst team. They're not even a bottom 10 team, but they're kind of hanging around the middle, and kind of once in a while they get into like that top 10, but they're not even really hanging around the rim. But we'll say we're hanging around the rim. So people think hanging around the rim is making the Final Four, like being in the NFC Championship game. And they haven't been hanging around the rim.
No.
Yeah. Also, that was probably the most unwarranted kind of, swipe of the press conference, because he was, I mean, some would argue Diggs' stuff was warranted. He was directly asked about Steele, so he responded that way. But I mean, Dak didn't. That was just not really called for, and that was just really strange to do that. Not just with any player, but with your franchise quarterback, who is the most professional guy.
That could be a good thing, but Jerry would have to go all in, and I think he's too old, and he wants to be too liked at this stage in his life to do it. But one way to ruffle the feathers to try and get the team to maybe have a season that we're not expecting would be for him to go like full scorched earth and start being really critical of a bunch of guys, to where it's like the team rallies, like we're like against Jerry type thing, like we're going to show Jerry, like they use that as something to galvanize them. That would be something, but I don't think Jerry can lay this on like this all season. Like he could even do it throughout camp, and they start the season like 3-0 or 4-0 using that mantra, and then all of a sudden I don't think he could keep it going. I think he'd want to jump in and be part of the ride. He doesn't want to be the villain of that, but that is one way that I do think it would be interesting, that where it could be like kind of us against him type rallying cry. I just don't think it can be executed. Not Jerry right now. Jerry maybe in the 90s, but not now.
This one's short, but basically does what about Micah going on the Undertaker's podcast and saying that you're the one who kind of complicated these negotiations?
Of all of the people that I've sat down with as a player, Michael Parson is as savvy and knowledgeable and understanding of his financial business relative to football as any player I've ever been around.
John.
Now, he's smart.
John, would you like to weigh in on that? Tad was calling on you.
So I don't know if that's one of Micah's relatives, but
Michael Parson. 2 wrong names.
The Michael Parson Project. Yes.
The Michael Parsons Project. No. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough when you hear that stuff to think that the GM is on the cutting edge and is in the same division with the best GM probably in the NFL. It's that's a toughie right there. That's a tough one to swallow if you're a fan of the team. No doubt about it.
Schottenheimer had one later, but I think it was inadvertent when he was saying Peyton Turner. He didn't finish saying Turner's name, and he just said Peyton Turn, and then let's like went out.
Let's let John Cook right here. Cut 8 here, Kent.
John Machado with The Athletic. Jerry, have you had a chance to actually talk to his agent yet?
I've talked with people that have talked to him. Let's put it like that. I don't necessarily talk to these agents, or I don't necessarily talk to attorneys, and I do stuff everywhere, and I don't necessarily talk to the people that are hired to do certain things. I talk to the principals 90% of the time.
Yeah, Saad, that makes me think of like our business of the whole like, telling an editor like the source you got and whatever. So you got a source that was like there in the negotiations, right? Well, it was somebody who's friends with the source who was in the negotiations. We can run with that, right? Like we can use that, even though, hey, let's not act like that doesn't happen in this business. But that's for another day. But yeah, that was okay. I asked him that because that was a big talking point at those owners' meetings in Florida, where he was, talking about not knowing David's name. David Mulligetta, Micah Parsons' agent, super agent, one of the biggest, if not the biggest agents in the NFL. I say that so anybody that doesn't know that doesn't think that this is just some, first-year agent, who went to Penn State, knows Micah like that, and you're just like, this guy is out over his skis. He doesn't know what he's doing. That's not the case here at all. David Mulligetta clearly knows what he's doing. So, but for Jerry and Steven not to have talked to him, that doesn't seem like the ball is rolling quite like maybe we thought it was a few months ago. And so yeah, here we are.
Yeah. Also, like for later on, that question was kind of revisited later on, and Steven kind of jumped in and said, Jerry never talks to the agents. I do. But then to John's point, Steven hasn't talked to him either. So it's just like Jerry kind of has this thing of like, well, I never do. I always just talk directly. But Steven is supposed to say, like, Steven's supposed to be the one that's doing it. And he said that he does, but then he hasn't talked to Mulligetta yet. So it just feels like a mess.
The other thing that's interesting in this that I haven't heard anybody say, and maybe I'll write about it later, but one thing that is interesting here is that there was all that talk with the Dak contract about how, well, you just do that because he's just the next one in line. And everybody else is just going to keep topping his number. And since that Dak contract, nobody's topped his number. Nobody's been within 5 million of it, including Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And I wonder how the Cowboys feel about that, where they're kind of like, yeah, everyone said it was just going to keep going up. Like all these numbers are just going to keep going up, and they have been at quarterback, And I'm not here to say that I think Brock Purdy should have been a $60 million quarterback, but Josh Allen, if Dak's 60, Josh Allen's got to be at least 62, 63.
Dude, they got their pants pulled down.
He's MVP guy that he's been to an AFC championship game.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to debate that. Is Dak versus Josh Allen debatable with anybody here? I don't know.
I don't think we need to start that one up yet. Jeez, we don't want the internet to explode tonight.
But you know what I'm saying with that? Like everyone the next one will just be higher. Because these quarterbacks won't take less because they have to uphold it for the next guy that's in line too. You don't want to take under market value, even though the best quarterback in the NFL by far took a 10-year deal that's about as team friendly can get. But it was told to us that, well, no, just the next one in line is going to be the next guy that gets that. Yeah. And obviously that is going to happen with Micah Parsons, but I just wonder with the Cowboys, and they won't say it publicly because if they do, then it's taking a shot at Dak. But I do wonder if they sit there and go, well, I was told that the quarterback market was going to keep going up, and it hasn't gone up. We're still sitting here with the top guy here.
Too, and he said, this practice, well, he had kind of like get off my lawn, like how like I imagine like your grandpa doesn't like that college players get paid now, but he said this practice now of player like that you have the obligation to sign your player before they're even in their contract year, and he was talking about that. Now I think that's just, hey, Micah said what he said on the Undertaker's podcast. I'm going to do this. And I honestly think Jerry kind of lives for this type of stuff. Like, I think this actually does get his motor running, like the art of the negotiation and all that stuff. But I think it's interesting, like with Dak, CAA is a little different, I think, than what we're dealing with Mulligetta. I think deal clearly could have been done with Micah. Micah talks about all this stuff a ton. And it's funny that Jerry goes, no one's smarter than Micah Parsons. Like when it comes to that. Yeah, Micah's also the one saying things that would make a lot of agents cringe over the last year. Like Micah saying things like, oh, yeah, I might take less. Like, so I don't know if like, it's funny that Jerry's saying he's like the smartest guy. And we're like sitting there going, like, Micah probably should have said that. There's a disconnect there that's odd, but it's all good. We all know this deal's going to get done, so it doesn't matter. And that's why it's so stupid.
Right, but up to this point, like I even go back to a conversation Saad and I had over a year ago with some things that Micah said at his locker, where it's just like when you walk away from it, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to write about this. But at the same time, it's Micah Parsons. And sometimes Micah just talks to talk. And it doesn't matter what he says. He's just going to say stuff. And to be honest with you, I thought about that when I was listening to the podcast interview with The Undertaker, where he was talking about like, I want to get this done a year ago. And if we got it done a year ago, then I would have taken 36, 37. It's like, well, you can say that now, but would you have at that time? Would David have been cool? Because the other thing about Dave Mulligetta is that, his top guys that are the top guys at their positions, they don't take any deals. There's none of them there. He's got some of the best deals. I mean, to me, I don't think there's a better deal than the one he got for Deshaun Watson. And you can make that argument that that's the best contract in all of sports. Now, I can understand the pushback on if you want to argue any of the, Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani, those MLB ones are fully guaranteed. So, hey, those are probably better technically. But when you think of what Watson had on his resume off the field and to get that fully guaranteed deal with the Cleveland Browns, I mean, that's a phenomenal deal. So I don't see him taking any like all of a sudden he's going to call up Jerry and be like, you know what, Jerry, we just want to get this done and behind us. What number you want to do? We'll get it done. Let's just get it done. Micah wants to be out there. That's not going to happen.
Let's move on here to this is kind of the side swipe. I believe Joseph Hoyt asked this question. What's the difference in, Micah's deal here, but you were able to get early deals done with Trayvon Diggs and Terrence Steele?
Frankly, should we have waited on Diggs and Steele? Oh, you brought them up. I didn't.
Well, the other thing is the willingness.
Oh, I don't love that.
No, but that's the key, though. That is, Steven's being 100% honest there. If Trayvon Diggs wanted to hold out for another $5 million, nobody would have said anything about it. Like, Trayvon Diggs didn't take some, like, Tyron Smith contract where you're just like, damn, that's extremely team-friendly. But he certainly took a deal that was more team-friendly than what, like, Dak or Micah or CD were looking for. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are different levels to this. I mean, you can use those two because they're the new, most recent examples, but that's not really anything different than what, like, Lyle Collins took,
Especially relative to where Trayvon's value was at the time.
Right.
Remember, this was before his injury, before his play slipped off. He was like a year removed from double-digit interceptions. So relative to his value at the time, it was a great contract.
If we went to this one, Kent, I think this will be number 16. Tim Cowshaw, asked a question. First of all, he started talking about Landman for a minute, which got the whole day off track. But basically the question is, are you embarrassed that Washington went to the NFC Championship game last year and still been 29 years since you have?
Hold on. Are you going to play the whole clip, though?
No. No. We can't.
See, I would like you to play the whole clip.
It's like 8 minutes.
As a shout out for me to all those fans that are like, you guys never ask the tough questions, blah, blah, blah. Because I'd like you to listen to all this and be like, that's exactly why you don't ask them. So go ahead, clip it up and try and make it, but just know that I'll tell you when it's over. Play what clip you want. I'll tell you how much more was on top of that, just to really bog you down. I was searching Twitter at the time, halfway through that answer, because I'm just like, where are we going with this?
Okay, so this part actually is him talking about Shoddy, and I just like that this gave a little insight. Okay, first of all, go back before I play this clip. And Kent, I'm sorry if I didn't give you the number, Kent. It's number.
You're good.
16.
I got it. Yeah.
Again, he goes off into a lot of things here, but the question was, are you embarrassed? But it goes into talking about Schottenheimer. Do you remember in 2020 when they hired McCarthy and how excited Jerry was about Mike McCarthy?
We didn't do well at quarterback last year because Dak got hurt, in my mind, just to show you how simple this is for me. And we didn't block him up very good, either pass protect or open the holes. I think we're going to do better. Do I know better if we don't have Dak? No. But if we got Dak, one thing that I'm so optimistic about is the guy sitting right over there. Because the minute the season was over, we wanted him to have the most influence on the offense. When I first was thinking about him, I really didn't think about him being the head coach. I did think about him really being involved in helping us be a better offensive football team. This is going to be exciting to see what a man that's spent 30 years, grew up in this game, never had a chance to head coach, and has got some of the finest, highest paid athletes in the world to step out here and go to war with. I'm excited about that, and I'm proud that he's getting this opportunity. He deserves it, in my mind. It became very clear to me that he would deserve it. Man, that makes me go here this year. That makes me feel good.
So I know we all knew this story too, and that we were all surprised, and when John even put it on our radar, like, could it be Schottenheimer? Like, we were like, what? So I understand, but just hearing that again, and
But
man,
also,
I'm
look at where
so
Jerry's
pulling
at.
for Schottenheimer because Schottenheimer seems awesome, but man,
and I'm happy from our perspective for sure. He seems like a great dude. I mean, he is a great dude. If stuff came out that he carried himself differently in his everyday life, I would be as stunned as anybody I ever covered because I don't see it happening. But there is also a part of me that thinks that if you piece together a lot of the other stuff we were just talking about and some of Jerry's longer answers, including about being embarrassed about the 29 years, Jerry's happy to be here.
yeah.
He's happy to be on this earth. He loves that he's around his family to do this job. They like coming out here to California when it's 100 and some degrees in Texas. They're out here and they have all family and friends out here. They're really enjoying it. Jerry's enjoying the latter part of his life, and he said as much today. And when you think about that, it's not hard to see a guy that, like, okay, he also didn't interview any of the top candidates in the coaching cycle and ended up going with somebody whose dad was a successful head coach, who hasn't gotten a chance to be a head coach. And it's not hard to see how Jerry was like, fell in love with the story of it. It's not hard to see at all. Now, would Jerry have done that in the 90s, right after he bought the team? Of course not. But as he's at the stage he is in his life, it's just not that hard for me to piece all of this together, Also, by the way, how do you think that was going to work if you kept Mike McCarthy as head coach and you were going to have to make Schottenheimer the OC? And so Mike was going to be completely out on offense. Like, it's just very easy for me to see how Mike was like, yeah, no, we're good here. This isn't going to be the thing.
Yeah. Also on the Schottenheimer front and what you were saying about Jerry, like when fans also talk about how asking the hard questions or this perception that, asking the hard questions is going to get to Jerry or something. Jerry said multiple times in his press conference, I don't care what you write. I'm still going to do what I do.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So like, sometimes fans think that, if you ask him this kind of question, everything is on his radar. He's been asked all these things before. It's just not going to change.
That's just kind of where we are as a society right now when it comes to media, though. People just think that, like, we're spoon-fed things and we only ask what we're told to ask and stuff. No, it's like you do this long enough and you know what's going to get responses and what's a waste of your time. I mean, there's so many things that have been asked over the years. When the question's being asked, I'm saying in my head, here we go. This is going to get wild. And it leads to this long thing of where you're like, all right, this was kind of a waste of time here. And it's this filibuster that takes 5 minutes and 3/4 of the way through, you're just like, all right, let's just get to the next question. Like, to the point where, like, you almost are looking around being like, all right, 55 minutes is enough. We're good here. Where typically you'd think like, no, keep this guy talking for as long as you possibly can,
Do you want to do the Landman thing or should we just let it go?
No, we can talk about it. It's fine.
I trimmed it down. 30 seconds.
Okay.
Too, so I appreciate it.
Well,
It was good.
well, they didn't give me enough time on it. My best scene was when I was talking to, what's his name, laying up there in the bed. I said, the good news is that they say you're going to live. And so don't make me have to come up here and visit with my rubber glove and get you out of that bed. Now, they took that out, and I thought it was the best scene in the whole thing.
That's a good line.
I thought they left that in.
I think they left part of it in. The thing is that when he's doing that, when he's saying that right there, the part that really stood out is that he's pretending to put a glove on, but he's sticking out his middle finger. So it just, if you're just like looking at the clip, it looks like he's flicking us off, it's just like.
So weird, man.
Yes. Yeah. And so that was the joke of it, but it kind of goes back to what I said beforehand, and from what I've heard since is has been proven true, is that it's not like there are any lines. Like, it was just talk, Jerry, talk about your life, and we'll trim out the good stuff, We'll put in the stuff that like fits this whole scene of, you talking about your family, because that's obviously equated to that scene in the show, And so it wasn't like there was this like a lot of acting and stuff like that, It was just be yourself, probably for 10, 15 minutes, and we'll use the best 3 minutes, and that's what we'll put in there, John Hamm and Billy Bob Thornton know how to handle this. They'll they'll play off of whatever you say, and obviously, it worked out. It is a good scene. Don't get me wrong. I mean,
No, it's great.
Well done. I didn't think it was going to dominate this press conference just because of the fact that, that scene was a ways back. I mean, I feel like that they're already on the second season of that show.
And that's I think it was one of the things I just walked away from today and listening to that and editing all that. And I just kind of go, man, we're just kind of doing the same thing again. And there's where is that? And it's not like it's not a roster that's looks like it's going to go 13-4 and be in the, NFC Championship game. So we know that going in, but you'd like to feel better about things changing, and the things will never change. And what acceptance that you have to get to as a Cowboys fan. Boy, I feel really sorry for the Cowboys fans who are in denial about, what might happen. Because I think a lot of Cowboys fans are just like, yeah, it's how it is. It kind of sucks. And they probably don't even get too worked up about things anymore. I don't know. You probably.
Why do you think you'd become a new Cowboys fan?
No, it's like you're growing up. You're 8 years old. You're 9. You're 10, and 2 you are. It's just like there's so many. No one's turning into a Cowboys fan.
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about Cowboys fans growing up like in the DFW area.
Yeah,
I'm saying like. Well, I guess I'm talking about fans that are like probably in that, 10 to 20 range. What have they given you over the last 5 to 10 years that would make you be like, this is my squad, I'm jumping on? I guess 2016 maybe?
That's a great point.
That We Dem Boys season?
Yeah, finish the fight.
They give you Dak.
I think it's, they're always a story. So they're really interesting to follow as a fan.
A lot of people hate them.
Teams. Yeah. They're always, believe it or not, competing during the regular season.
A lot of primetime games.
They're always kind of in it, Yeah, a lot of primetime games. But I think it's a good point you make that they have a reputation as this big, like the Lakers or the Yankees, as like this big bandwagon franchise, but they never win. The Yankees and the Lakers win championships often. And that's kind of the misnomer, I think, about the reputation of Cowboys fans.
And even with the Yankees, it's been almost 15 years now, maybe longer. It was, I think, 09 last. But they do things where you're like, yeah, they're not that far away. So, like, go to the World Series last year, even though the Dodgers were clearly the better team. They do things where you're just like, yeah, they're right there, another player away. Maybe, they go out and get Soto. They do some big moves like that. So it always keeps them in it. Whereas, like, with the Cowboys, I love covering them because I grew up in the 90s, and I remember how crazy that was just growing up in Detroit. And so that's why, like, I've told Sod a million times and several other close friends and family members to leave this beat, and then the Cowboys win the Super Bowl a year or two later, I'd be sick. Like I'm riding this thing out till I'm my last breath, because I would be a worst case of FOMO I'd ever have would be like, oh yeah, well, I took the job covering the Rams. I wanted to move to LA, and then the Cowboys win a Super Bowl. I would be sick. Absolutely. So it's a little bit different for me because I saw it when it was just like, man, the 90s Cowboys was just crazy, like from all levels, from the notoriety to the star players, to the winning, to the dominance, like it was just like, that was a real brand, like real aura, and right now I'm just kind of like, every day that goes by I cover this team, I'm like, I wonder what the new fans get latched onto. What brings them in? And I'm not talking about, obviously, if you were born in the DFW area.
Yeah.
Or it's another one, too. You're born into a family that, has family members that are big fans of the team, and that you just, hey, that's what we do on Sundays. We watch the Cowboys.
Yeah, real quick, I know there's not a big hockey layover or like crossover with football, but really the Cowboys are the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs are the iconic hockey, flagship. That's where the Hockey Hall of Fame is. That's everything. The last time they've won a championship was 1967. So you think the Cowboys drought is long, just double that. That's the most comparable, because like y'all said, Lakers, Yankees, Dodgers, that doesn't compare. It's really the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay, with that being said, you have to put your an entire year's paycheck on this. Who wins a championship first going forward? The Maple Leafs or the Cowboys? Which one would you go with?
I'd probably go with the Maple Leafs as long as it's been. I think I'd go
How
with the
old
Maple Leafs.
is it Austin Matthews? Is that his name?
Yeah. I don't
Is he
know
young?
how old he is. No, he's not young. He's like in his prime. So like,
But he's still the guy for them, right?
Yeah. He's definitely the guy.
So they got a key
But-
piece.
Is the Toronto Maple Leafs owner the GM?
No, he's not.
Because that's kind of where the buck's going to stop for me there. I'll go ahead and go Maple Leafs.
I'd go Cowboys, honestly. I think the NHL Stanley Cup is a lot harder to win. You got to win so many games, playoff series, 16 games you have to win a Stanley Cup. You only got to get hot for a couple weeks to win a Super Bowl. So I'm going Cowboys.
But I'll tell you, that 2023 season really snapped me out of that. I thought the same thing, Kent. And I was like, look, you just have to like fall into one win here, one win there. You have a completely healthy roster. The division was handed to you. You have home field all throughout. And then they just laid the biggest egg. I used to think the same thing, but then after 2023, I stopped thinking that way.
And then, but the other part too,
I kind of think the Eagles Eagles had a great roster last year, but to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl and to, I think like they just got hot at the right time. They got real hot.
well, yeah. When you stay relatively healthy, that helps.
Yeah.
I know we have a lot of like listeners too who are like, okay, this is good, but I was hoping you guys would talk a little more football. And
Sure, let's talk football.
But it's that'll get happening. That'll be happening.
I have one question about the press conference, though, if we're moving on from that. Sorry. Did you ask about Kevontae Turpin?
Yeah, at the end.
The press conference?
I didn't even cut it up at the end. That basically, Schottenheimer just said that, he's talked to Kevontae, obviously, and he knows that he has to be better. But he didn't say, like, if there's going to be any suspension or anything like that. He said that they're going to keep all that stuff, in-house. But, yeah, it was asked at the very end. It was the last question. In football terms, I would say the one thing that kind of stood out to me, and we'll see what this ends up being actually on the field, but I thought Schottenheimer's answer was kind of interesting about Dak's workload and what he'll do, because he was talking about how, like, Dak's not going to be happy, basically saying about how, like, they're going to pick and choose their spots. Like, there was just times in previous years where, like, Witten would have an off day or Zach Martin. You could tell they weren't happy about it. But it's the whole like guarding Dak against himself. And I'm interested to see how that looks, especially because they obviously traded for Joe Milton. And so, I expect to see a lot of Joe Milton, but I'm just wondering, like, will it be noticeable or is it just a couple reps here or there where Dak's not doing they normally would? Or is he going to get entire off days? Because he's not going to like that at all. And so I'm interested to see that balance on that. That was one question football wise, that the way Schottenheimer talked about Dak's workload, I was like, oh, this could be one of those, like, and I'm just saying it because I've covered the previous 9 training camps with Dak. When he's healthy in training camp, he takes like every rep that he wants, And so it's interesting to see a guy that, like, yeah, he's in year 10, he's in his 30s. You're really going to dial it back that much? I don't even have to go back to the last 4 or 5 years. I'll go back to the last 2 or 3 months. Like, wasn't he going to dial it back in OTAs and minicamp because he's coming back from this hamstring injury and he did everything out there? So I don't know. It's just something to keep an eye on. Other football stuff, no real leader in the clubhouse, it sounds like, at running back. Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders are going to probably be the 1-2 guys early on. But I just think that the Phil Maffas and the Jaden Blues and even Deuce Vaughn, those are going to be the guys to watch in those preseason games, because I don't think you're going to see a lot of Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders in the preseason. But those other runners, that's where their chances to separate them. So that was talked about a little bit. In terms of like scheme or the way practices are going to be structured or anything like that, like, no big takeaways from any of that stuff. But I think tomorrow we'll get Schottenheimer and we'll get to watch, their first practice. We'll get a little bit more from that stuff. But today was about Micah Parsons and Landman.
Yeah, I think there was one question about Jack Sanborn in there, and that was about
Brad Sham.
That was all the football.
I might have
question.
that actually. Kent, this is after Gordon Keith came in from the ticket and asked about
cartoon.
If Jerry, because he's voicing Jerry's voice on a Cartoon Network show, which
is he?
Yeah, and Jerry's not. It doesn't sound like Jerry's gonna be like a main character on the show. It'll just kind of be he's the neighbors of the main characters, whatever. So Gordon's
doing
the voice of Jerry for that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So Gordon's fake Jerry that he does on the radio is great, but he does like a real impression that sounds identical to Jerry. Like when he's trying to actually imitate the voice, the one on the radio is like a hammed up character, but you might not be able to tell that it's not Jerry. It's so good.
Kent, if you have clip 20 pulled up, the last one.
I do.
This is Brad Sham after Gordon Keith, who's a goofball and didn't know much about sports, has asked Jerry a question. All right, here's Brad Sham.
Brad Sham, Cowboys Radio, 105.3 The Fan. I'm not sure it's even appropriate to ask a football question anymore, but Brian, you mentioned...
It's all football, Brad.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. It always has been. We just introduced it more like that when we got here.
Tell that to the people watching the Cartoon Network, but...
Whoa. God, Brad.
Yeah, not a lot of football to talk right now, to be perfectly clear, but they did go a lot more Landman than I wanted or expected today, too. I'll say that.
Also, real quick, KT, on the football thing, just real quick, I think people really do sometimes treat like post-draft to training camp as like an off time. But for people asking the questions and for people answering the questions, I don't think people realize that we talk to Schottenheimer every week during OTAs and minicamp. And there's been scheme questions. Jerry's talked multiple times during that time. Dax talked at his foundation. Like things like that happen so much in these middle months. Like people think that we haven't asked Schottenheimer about what his scheme is going to look like. And this, now he's been asked that multiple times. And he's about to talk every single day for the next month. Yeah. So this really is not a football type setting, this opening press conference. It really is kind of everything else.
With that being said, though, is it though? Because if Micah Parsons' contract's done, I bet you there is a lot more football stuff being asked.
Yeah, maybe, but
because there would have been no other distraction like that, or something else going on, to the point where. Doesn't it kind of almost make you feel like we always say, like, that's why Jerry doesn't have a problem with this stuff, because he loves that. That's what everybody's talking about.
Dude,
how much are we going to be talking about? Like that, if that contract's done, how much are we going to really be talking about Jaden Blue and Kyer Elam and Jack Sanborn and Patrick Turner, or Peyton Turner, sorry.
Ken, I know you got something about, and I'll be real quick with this, because I want you to be the finisher here. In running back news. And I've grown more mature, and I don't keep score on takes and who's right and who's wrong. None of it matters. We all know that. It has become a little irritating to me that how exaggerated it is about their running back room being, not up to standard. But I'm like, man, were people bitching about the running back room like this last year? Or did they just realize in week 13 that Rico Dowdle was good? Like there's something like there that's very frustrating to me, because the running back room this year is better than what the running room was going into the year last year.
Rico Dowdle? You're just going to skip over
I know,
the
Zeke.
big offseason signing of Ezekiel Elliott last year?
So I'm saying that no one was pounding the table for Rico Dowdle, but he's a 1,000-year rusher, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, let him go. Okay, well, you never thought he was good in the first place. I'm not talking about the Cowboys. I'm talking about fans. I'm talking about hot take people. I'm like, you never thought he was good anyway. So, hold on that. All of a sudden, he ends up with 1,000 yards, and people are like, oh, my God, how could you let him go? Like, guys were crapping on this guy before the season started. So easy. Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, and Jaden Blue, and Phil Maffa, and Hunter Lipke, and Deuce is there, too. They definitely got thrown in like that today. Not great. But let's not act like that's not better than last year's running back room. It absolutely is.
That's fair. Yeah,
Who wants to fight me on this?
No, you're right. I agree. I just thought that they would use a higher pick on a running back these last 2 years.
We all did. Yeah.
To not use a pick in 2 years after you knew you weren't bringing back Tony Pollard, and you don't use one until the 5th round, it is kind of surprising. I get it's just the way that the Cowboys are. When they devalue a position, they devalue it big time.
Extreme. Okay.
The running game has sucked for so long. I think people are just like, I'll believe it when I see it. No matter who they bring in, we got to see it on the field.
It could have been really good last year, maybe, if they would have let the right guy play the whole time. He also could have been hurt.
Ezekiel Elliott.
Hey, man.
Number 15.
Number 1 in your heart, though.
And one in Jerry's heart.
What is he doing? Is he retired or free agent? Where's Zeke at?
He's probably gonna be working at Barstool or something. I don't know, man.
I think he's a free agent.
He's
All those guys are getting promoted. What the hell?
he could lead some parades, I think.
Are they trying to? Was the world trying to make us not want to watch pregame shows? There's just so much McAfee and Portnoy now in our college pregame shows. I feel like the world's just like, you know what? Just start watching the games at 11. You don't need a pregame show. I have no reason to watch any pregame show now.
Okay.
I'm done.
Let me take a little bit broader shot. When it comes to like what's on TV with sports, like, do you really feel like right now, like it's about what people really want? Like that? No, the numbers back this up. There's so much stuff on TV sports wise that I'm just like, who's watching this?
It is wild.
I'd like to go more in depth, but I don't really want to be criticized from all different levels. So I'm just going to tell you, it's not like one thing or the other. It's all like pretty like head scratching across the board where you're like, huh, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's turn it over to forever the sickest kid, Kent Garrison.
Thank you, Kevin. First of all, checking in with our friends over at vesselfinder.com. Jerry's yacht currently ported in Monaco.
Perfect.
So you looking for a little Grand Prix spot there? Seems to make not much sense that it's out in Monaco. So there's the update there on Jerry's yacht.
Technically it does. Well, hold on, Kent. I think it's because it doesn't make sense to be there if you think that Jerry really like loves being on there. I think the people that love using the boat would rather be in Monaco than at training camp, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that's more fun for them than I think the football people. I don't know, just like I don't get the sense from being around them that Jerry and Steven are big like yacht people. Like they have the yacht, so they'll go on it from time, but it's not like they're like, you know, on it all the time. I think it's more other members of the family that love it.
I think the team is Jerry's yacht, right?
Yeah.
Can we get a below deck season of Jerry's yacht? That's what we really
that'd be
need.
Fun.
Hey, that's another one though, real quick, Kent. That kind of ties in there. If that was Jerry's thing and he loved it and all that, I think he'd have like the reporters on there, like out here in California. But the reason he doesn't is because I don't think that the people that are on it all the time want any part of reporters being anywhere near that thing.
Might sink the yacht trying to pull it in the port of Oxnard or something, though. You know, it doesn't seem like the greatest destination for luxury yachts. But maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. It was in Florida and we were there for the owners' meetings, and that's where I got the understanding that was probably the. Let's not act like Jerry's cheap. Like he takes us to Nobu. You know,
I think it's because you haven't asked.
You could just take us to some decent.
Jerry would probably be like, "Yeah,
100%." He'd be like, "Yeah, everybody." But I don't think I don't think the yacht is as much Jerry's as it is the rest of the families.
Well, it's named Bravo Eugenia.
There you go.
Gives you any indication. Small observation though. Why is the bringing back the all white star I saw on the tower this year? Are they just some kind of throwback anniversary? What's with that? Because they're, the star is iconic, and they're throwing it back to the all white one.
I'm not sure, but then there's also these black jerseys that I saw a couple. I tweeted out a picture of a Pickens one at the Star a few weeks back, and then when I was walking by one of the merchandise tents yesterday, they had some Pickens ones, some Micah ones, and some DeMarvion Overshown ones. That they're black jerseys with white numbers that are outlined in blue. And so I'm like, oh, maybe they're going to wear those in a game, or maybe they're just trying to sell them. But I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe there is some uniform changes.
I thought that was quite random because of how visible the tower is in photos and everything. You'd think they'd want Cowboys star there, and it's just the white star is not
like one star, like a 1-star Cowboys.
Yeah, just logo. one star.
I see
in
what
the
they're
middle
doing.
of the field.
Okay. Like and subscribe. No, that's what people always say. I don't really know. What else, Kent? Anything else?
We're back for the season, baby.
Back for the season.
It's going to be great.
We're contemplating.
Is there any questions that? Are there any questions that weren't asked today that you guys think should have been asked?
You know,
hold
and
the media accountable, damn it.
If I missed this, I'm sorry. It's been asked a million times already, probably, but any type of George Pickens content's pretty interesting to me. But
nothing about Pickens today.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
I thought one thing that was asked that I feel like it gets asked often, but especially in this setting, is Mike Ducey asked Jerry if he's ever contemplated not being GM. I think in the past he's always said never thought about it, not even for a second. This time he said yes, very like he said like fractions of a second type thing. I think that was the first time he said something like that, but I would defer to John on that as the documenter of all things Jerry.
Yeah, he said fractions of seconds.
Yeah. No, that's the first time he's ever answered it that way. So yeah, maybe for all those people out there, hopefully they'll hire a GM. Maybe there's just a small little crack in the door there.
There you go. This could be when this thing turns around.
I just think of him like looking in the mirror and being like, is it time for me to hang? Of course not. Okay. Where are we going? Of course not.
He's got a little devil and angel Jerry on his shoulder telling him what to do. All right. That'll do it for us. Thank you all for listening. Follow John because there's going to, it's John training camp video season. All right. Will he take a picture?
Milton and Pickens.
Will he take a picture of a Cowboys player as they run out onto the field and then they will get memed for being fat?
Hold on. I have a game. I have a game that I want to play. I want all of us to participate in this. Which player will be the focal point of John's most viral training camp video this year?
Okay.
This is easy.
I'm going to go. I think everyone's going to go Pickens, but I'm going to go with Joe Milton.
I'm going Mozzie Smith.
I was going to say it's got to be George Pickens making a catch and throwing the ball in the corner's face or something like that. Yeah.
It's wild to think that KT would think I'd be watching the defense, but okay. Obviously he doesn't know how these videos work. So
you don't watch defensive tackle play?
No, you're 100% right. I mean, I just go back to last year when Saab was over there. Remember when they were doing like the individual defensive line drills? And yeah, there was a Mozzie Smith, like really good rush that, it blew up for sure. So no, that's a possibility. I mean, to be honest with you, if I went back last year, the top one is probably that dude who, I don't even remember who it was, who when they practiced against the Rams and he threw that Rams like coach that like playing quarterback on the ground.
Yes.
My
God, defensive tackle guy.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. Yeah,
Clemson, I want to say, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, he didn't. Okay, he didn't make the 53.
I'm gonna change my answer because I think Joe Milton, but CeeDee Lamb, I think going against Trayvon quite a few times this.
Okay.
We'll see how much Trayvon is on. Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, because I bet you Trayvon doesn't do very much out here.
Yeah, so going against Bland, though, I'll go with CD actually, even over George Pickens.
Albert Huggins would be your house cleaning answer of the day.
Man, he ran back to that. He ran back to the Cowboys side of the ball, thinking like everybody was going to get his back, and then they're all yelling at him like, "What are you doing?" Man, that was. I can watch that on replay right now, easy 10 times. That was, man, when keeping it real goes wrong.
All right, make sure you follow John, Saad, Kent. We also host that Mad About Movies podcast, and I'm Kevin. We'll be back soon. We're obviously we have a Discord channel set up as well. And then we're contemplating some things, and we'll let you know when there's stuff that you need to know about when it comes to that. And, ways to listen to this podcast. But for now, everything normal, all good. So for this, thank you to everyone. And we'll see you next time on the One Star Cowboys podcast.
Michael Parson.